Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gnostic Tarot Cards. My name is Tim Wright, and I'm here for the first time in a very long time posting about some really interesting observations in Gnostic Tarot. Um, now, I am obviously here to talk about the Gnostic tradition in Tarot, but more importantly, I wanted to go over one of the most Gnostic tarots out there. That is by Gnostic Bishop Christine Payne Towler. That is Tarot of the Holy Light. This deck is thoroughly vetted, and I would say that if you have not picked it up, you should, because it is by far the most Gnostic tarot out there. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the correspondences, and it's exactly the correspondences that make it Gnostic. So hopefully I can help you all with that in the future. I'm not sure if I will get to that, but right now what I'm doing is I am posting for the first time to show you the awesome merchandise which I am now wearing, which is the Tarot of the Holy Light shirt that you can get from me at Kim Clothing. I'm on Facebook. I don't know if I want to do it through Facebook marketing or if I'm going to do it through a dedicated web page. I'm not sure yet. So if you want this color, just tell me what size you want, and you will be able to get this shirt from the Tarot of the Holy Light shirt sets that are being made. Next, I wanted to go over, and actually, thanks for the plug. But actually, next, I wanted to go over a card of the Tarot of the Holy Light because it inspired me so much. Now, a lot of what I'm going to say right now is conjecture, speculation, my synthesis of basically years and years and years of study of stuff. I wrote it down, but I'm not sure how well it's going to come across. So if it doesn't come across as well as I'd like it to, ask me any questions that you may have. But we are going to look at, for the very first time, through a new Gnostic Illuminist lens, the Tarot of the Holy Light. And I wanted to start this off, since we're in such an amazing time related to this card. I wanted to start this off with the Four of Coins, which you'll see by me. Now, this art is by Michael Dowers. He is the artist and basically visionary behind Tarot of the Holy Light. I wanted to show you a couple of things. First, we have the beautiful background of green, which can be seen as negative green if you're into Robert Gilbert's radiesthesia from French radiesthesia scientists, Neil. You'll be able to pick that up immediately. But what really hit me hard was not the French radiesthesia color system behind the deck, but was something else. So we're going to go into that now. For the first time, you're not getting the artist's official view of this card because it can't be done. He's unfortunately not with us anymore. And Christine has not gone into this level of image interpretation. So what I'm going to show you is the mythopoetic symbolism behind the Four of Coins. Okay, so I don't know exactly where we should start. Obviously, you see at the bottom that we have the four elements: fire, earth, air, and water. But these are something that I wanted to go over because, as you'll read in my last book that I wrote about the diagrams of the psyche and self as they're found through Jung, These are also not just related to Jung's diagram, but these four areas are related, and you see they overlap in a Vesica Pisces. These four areas are related to the four ethers. So let's start there, and we can get deeper into the mystery of this card as we go through it. There's a lot to see here, so it will be up the entire time as I show it, hopefully showing you some of the architecture behind it. I don't know how far I'll go into it. Actually, the digital version is a lot nicer than my printed version. I think the blues came out a little bit better in the digital version than they did in our card. Let's see if I can show this without flashing everything. See, in our card, the blues don't come out very well compared to how bright and neon this card actually is, which is amazing because when I meditated on it, which I did for about an hour, I did an hour-long meditation on this card, and I was really satisfied with the results. And here's why. So, some of you may see different things than others, and by God, do your own analysis on this deck. What I see is from my particular understanding and education in these traditions. So, the first thing I saw was the four spheres at the bottom. The four spheres are what Breyer calls the ethers, and Breyer has a way of presenting these that are pretty mystical, but we won't go there completely right now because that's not the overall focus. The majority of the image is the bird on fire. So that is often known in esoteric circles as the primary area of the phoenix before it gets set on fire. The black bird goes to the flames. But here's what I found, and here's a little bit more to the picture than I think was ever intended. You'll see that the bird is actually in a mirror. And, you know, as I reflected on this, I saw that there's a heroic impulse in me that wants to be the hero. Let's just get that out of the way. There's a self that wants to be seen as a heroic figure, and that necessarily is not always the case. Sometimes I don't end up the hero in my story. I end up as someone else. Now, what happens when you go through all this effort and energy and you don't become the hero that you always wanted to be because of an internal frustration in the dynamics? This is kind of what Gnosis is about. When the acculturated world doesn't work for us, we have to go internal to the internal reality of ourselves, which will never become an external event. So this is what I primarily saw when I focused on this card was, we're getting to it. It takes a moment to build up, so just give me some benefit of the doubt here. We're going through a pretty intense view into this card, which, you know, most people won't look at. So what led me here was the frustrated look on the man in the moon. The man in the moon is looking at this bird kind of like, what are you doing to yourself? And as we look in the mirror, we see the blackened bird or the blackened crow start to self-emulate. You see that the bird has wings that are fully expanded in its wingspan. I just put my arms out. That are fully expanded in its wingspan. And it can fly away, but it didn't. It didn't. And in fact, there's a sun behind the bird showing that it's outside and outdoors, so it could easily leave this environment. If we were to look at the logical epistemology of this situation, whatever we're looking at, the bird could easily fly away. It has wingspan and possibility to use its wings, but it has not made the choice to fly away from the burning flames. Now, why is that? So that was my first question. Why would this bird self-voluntarily do this to itself? And then the next one was, why wouldn't the intuition of the bird kick in? And why is the man in the moon looking at him so disapproving? I don't know if it's a he or a she. It could be whatever gender you want to make the bird, since we don't see any dangles or anything like that. So, out of the four ethers, the bird has now, the black crow has now made its ascent into a place where whatever it did, it set itself on fire. And I thought, how are we going to talk about this? Well, first, it should be seen that this is a mirror. Now, the wingspan is a little bit outside of the mirror, so it's not inside of the mirror, which is really cool because it says that the self can never become an object, that the nature of the self is always a subject. And I mean, that goes to show that we know this already, that the self is a subject, and that, whenever you ask somebody to be honest about something, they say, oh, well, I'm going to talk my truth. I'm going to say it how I see it. I'm going to explain the world as it comes to me. But what we don't realize is that that is a subject. It's never an object. And a subject can never be used in objective tenets of science. That's what science is. It's the observation of empirical facts, which are objective and not subjectively influenced. Now, I'm not getting into the yoga science or anything like that. I'm just taking the word science as we use it in regular education and saying that there's an empirical reality that all scientific conclusions must rest upon. So immediately we're seeing the breaking of the laws of science here. And as we break the laws of science, we're getting into an area of the subjective, which is exactly what the card is showing to me. I'll go more into the symbolism if you're ready and prepared to hear it. But basically what happens is there's two suns. You see above the crow's crown, basically, there's a red sun. There's the big red sun. And the red sun has expanded in its heat, in its overall affect of what the sun has done spiritually into a physical sun. So it's manifesting from internally, externally, not from externally, internally, but internally, externally. And you see that the rays of the external sun at the top, if you look at 12 o'clock, it almost looks like it's a creature. I don't know if it's just an optical illusion, it could be Z for Zorro, but it pretty much looks like a creature there. And so what this told me is that as you emulate yourself into an object, the subject turns a demon against you. I know this is crazy language. And the reason why is because Jung believed that the self had an internal readjustment function called the enantiodromia, that anything from one pole going toward its opposite pole will eventually force it to go back to its original position or opposite nature. So I was like, okay, that's great. And the psyche that made this, I don't know if that was intended, but that's the psyche that views it. And so for me, that image had a lot of meaning, that you cannot self-emulate by trying to turn the subjective into an object. It'll always be the subject. It does not, it's a ring past not. You cannot turn subject into object. Subject will always be subject. And if you expand subject into object, what will happen is the demon of reversal will come to you and start attacking you to try to get you to pull you back to your subtle subjective self. This is because subjective facts do not rule objective reality. Subjective facts rule the perception of objective reality in the subject, which is great. which is great. And we can give that to the subjective realm. That's perfect. See it the way you want to see it. But that doesn't mean you get to say to everybody that's how they see it. So that is the initial presentation of the Four of Coins as it comes to me from the Tarot of the Holy Light. Now there's more here, but it's got to be to the trained eye. You got to know what you're looking at to be able to see what I would show you in my subjective education of what is happening here. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to continue. I'm not going to make a part 2 right now because it'll go into the dynamics of the self and alchemy and all of these things which, Jung explored for us, codified and put into proper form. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be the one that does that. Anyway, that was my presentation on the Four of Coins from the Tarot of the Holy Light. Go buy the deck if you don't have this. Seriously, it's a great meditation tool. And also, come by Kim Clothing and send us a direct message on Facebook and see if you can pick yourself up one of these green shirts with the major arcana of the strength on it and the wonderful Tarot of the Holy Light font that was made by Patrick Dowers. The artist of the deck's brother made the font that we highlight in Tarot of the Holy Light and that you can get at Kim Clothing on our shirts. So come and DM me and we'll talk about sizes, prices, colors, all of that. And it's not just limited to this card on this color. It's very made to order. So let me know and then we can work that out. Other than that, thanks for coming by. We're going to do a bunch of these videos on Tarot of the Holy Light because it is really the Tarot of the New Age. It is not based on anything that we've ever seen before in Tarot, but it is. It's just not, it hasn't been spoken about openly. It's been spoken about secretively. The correspondences, the Hebrew correspondences, all of the inner alchemical principles that hide in this deck are everywhere, but you have to have eyes to see it. So, as Christine would say, it's hidden in plain sight. Thanks for coming and checking this out on Gnostic Tarot Cards. And subscribe to the channel. Go and buy yourself a deck. Come and see us at Kim Clothing. And go on your tarot journey because there's going to be a lot more to come from here. All right. Goodbye.